What time is it? It's time for Mary!
Santa is coming to Edmonton by Steve Smallman. So it's December, and that means it's almost time for Christmas and New Year's and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. Are you excited?
Yeah!
Me too. Now this book is about Santa's journey to Edmonton and his challenges with his SantaNav navigation system. Well, boomed Santa, have all the children from Edmonton been good this year? Well, mostly, answered the little old elf as he bustled across the busy workshop to Santa's desk. Santa peered down at the elf from behind the tall, teetering piles of letters that the children of Edmonton had sent him. Mostly? Asked Santa, looking over the top of his glasses. Yes, but they've all been especially good in the last few days, said the elf. Jolly good, chuckled Santa. Then we'd better get their presents loaded up. Even though the sack of presents was really, really big, and the elves were really, really small, they seemed to have no trouble loading it on to Santa's sleigh. Though how they managed to fit such a big sack onto one little sleigh, even though they didn't know, but somehow they did. Splendid, boomed Santa. We're ready to go. Not quite, Santa, said the little old elf. One of our reindeer is missing. Missing? Which reindeer is missing? Asked Santa. The youngest one, Santa, said the elf. It's his first flight tonight. I've called him, but just then a young reindeer strolled up, munching on a large carrot. Where have you been? Asked Santa. But the youngest reindeer was crunching so loudly that it was no wonder he hadn't heard the little old elf calling. Oh well, never mind, said Santa, giving the reindeer a little wink. He took out his SantaNav, tapped in the coordinates for Edmonton, Alberta. This will guide us to Edmonton in no time. Crunch, crunch, crunch. With a flick of the reins and a jerk of the harness, off they went, racing through the sky. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. We'll soon have these presents delivered to the festival city. Santa's sleigh flew through the starry night, heading south across the Arctic Ocean. On they flew into the wintry air, crossing over the Yukon. In the wink of an eye, the sleigh was flying over the northern Rocky Mountains towards Alberta. The youngest reindeer was very excited. He had never been away from the North Pole before. They were just nearing the North Saskatchewan River Valley when suddenly they ran into a blizzard. Snowflakes whirled around the sleigh. They couldn't see a thing. The youngest reindeer was getting a bit worried, but Santa didn't seem concerned. In 2 miles, said the SantaNav in a bossy lady voice. Keep left at the next star. But, ma'am, Santa blustered, I can't see any stars in all this snow. And soon they were hopelessly lost. Then, through the howling blizzard, the youngest reindeer heard a faint ringing sound. Ding dong. He looked over at the old reindeer with the red nose. Who do you think the old reindeer with the red nose is?
Rudolph.
I think that's probably right. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. There was that sound again, like church bells ringing. The youngest reindeer turned around to look at Santa, but Santa wasn't listening. He seemed to be arguing with a little box with buttons on it. And with a flick of the harness and a jerk of the reins, the youngest reindeer gave a sharp tug and headed off towards the sound of the bells, pulling Santa and his sleigh behind him. Whoa, cried Santa, pulling his hat straight. What's going on? Then, to his surprise, he heard the ringing sound. Well done, young reindeer, he shouted cheerfully. It must be the bells of St. Joseph's Basilica. Don't worry, children, Santa is coming. Then suddenly, crunch. The sleigh hit something as it plummeted through the snowy clouds. You have arrived, said the SantaNav unhelpfully. Finally, when the snow had died down and the clouds were parted, Santa discovered exactly where they were, stuck right at the very top of the Christmas tree in Churchill Square. Everybody pull! The reindeer pulled with all their might until at last, with a screeching noise, the sleigh scraped clear of the Christmas tree and Santa steered them safely around Sun Life Place, over the North Saskatchewan River, past the University of Alberta, and down into William Hawrelak Park. Luckily, there was no real damage done, but the packages had all been jumbled up. Santa quickly sorted out the presents into order again. "All right," said Santa. "Thanks to this young reindeer, I know where we are now. Don't worry, children, Santa is coming." And so Santa drove his sleigh expertly from rooftop to rooftop all over Edmonton, popping in and out of chimneys as fast as he could go. There were big chimneys in Strathcona and small chimneys in Oliver, and he squeezed down thin chimneys in Park Allen. That's where I grew up. We had a thin chimney. And plummeted down fat chimneys in Highlands. The youngest reindeer was amazed at how quickly they went. Santa never seemed to get tired at all, and it looked like the children in Edmonton were going to be very lucky this year. But the youngest reindeer was starting to feel a bit weary and quite hungry too. In house after house, Santa delved inside his sack for packages of every shape and size. He piled them under the Christmas trees and carefully filled up the stockings with surprises. In house after house, the good children of Edmonton had left out a large plate of cookies, a small glass of milk, and a big, crunchy carrot. Santa took a little bite out of each cookie, a tiny sip of milk, wiped his beard, and popped the carrots into his sack. From Greenfield to Garneau, from Westmount to Windermere, from Riverbend to Cloverdale, and all the places in between, Santa and his sleigh visited every house in Edmonton. Santa delivered presents to Andrew, Allison, Anna, Arabella, Archie, Ashley. The list went on and on and on. Zach, Zara, Zeb, Zoe, and Zibble. Finally, Santa had delivered the last present on his long Edmonton list. "Great moons and stars," sighed Santa. "It's past midnight and my sack seems as heavy as ever. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone." Santa opened his sack to check, but it was full of juicy, crunchy carrots. Santa divided the carrots among all the reindeer. "Well done," he said, patting the youngest reindeer gently on the nose. But the youngest reindeer didn't hear him. He was too busy munching. Then it was time to set off for home. Santa reset his Santa Nav once more for the North Pole, and soon they were speeding above Fort Edmonton Park and Lois Hole Centennial Provincial Park and out over St. Albert through the crisp, starry night. "Ho, ho, ho," laughed Santa. "Merry Christmas, Edmonton!" So I like how this book mentioned many of the different communities and special places that we have in Edmonton. Isn't that kind of special?
Yeah.
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa and Happy New Year to every single one of you and to all of you as well.